Today we're going to look at the difference between proportional and non-proportional, and we're also going to talk about slope and y-intercept because it all goes together. So if you look at the first slide, it says graphs of proportional relationships. What did we learn? A proportional relationship is a graph that passes through 0, 0. Does this graph pass through 0, 0? Yes, so it's proportional. That means the y-intercept is 0. The plus b, there is no plus b because it is 0. So it says a proportional relationship is a relationship between two variables in which the ratio of one variable is constant. One variable is always a constant value times the other. It passes through the origin. It can also be known as the unit rate when you're talking about the slope. You can always use rise over run to find the slope, just like you can when it's non-proportional. But the main thing you need to know is to be proportional, it is in this form, where there is no plus b. Why do they say kx? I'm not really sure. You could call it mx, and there is just no plus b. This is still the slope, the rate, the constant rate of change, stuff like that, okay? All right, go down to this bottom one. Is this graph proportional? Yes, why? Because it's passing through 0, 0. All right, it says, Robin tracked her progress in a bike race to determine her average speed during the race. The graph shows the relationship between time, which is on the x-axis, and distance, which is on the y-axis. Robin determined that her average speed was 30 miles per hour. Is she correct? Guys, what is per a clue word for?
Each.
That's another clue word. What is it a clue word for? Rate and slope. So what Robin was saying is that the slope is 30. Is she correct? We don't know. How do we find slope? Rise over run or stat. It is totally up to you. Since this is an easy 2 dots, I'm going to try rise over run. How far did I rise up? 2 spots, but they're not worth 1 each. Look right here. What is this? 0. What is this?
10.
Then I rose up 10. Yes? Are y'all with me? So it's counting by 5. So my rise is 10. Now from here to here, yes, it's 2 spots, but they're not counting by 1s. They're counting by 15. So from here to here is 30. Does 10 over 30 simplify to 30? No. Everybody go look. Alpha y equals 10 over 30 simplifies to 1/3. The slope is actually 1/3. Oop, not 1 over 30, 1/3. So was Robin correct? No, she wasn't correct at all. Now, could I have used stat? Because some of y'all were struggling to do rise over run. How would I have used stat? I would make a table of 2 coordinates. So I could have said 0, 0, because there's a point here, and I could have said 30, 10. And then I could go to stat, put it in, and then stat calc option 4. Rise over run is easier, but they weren't counting by 1. So a lot of you said the rise was 2 because it was 2 spots, but they were counting by 5. So rise over run can be confusing if you can't tell what they're counting by. So use stat if you're ever confused. All right, flip to the back. We're going to talk about slope and y-intercept. And there's a whole lot of information on this page. Guys, what button in our calculator will find slope and y-intercept for you? Stat. But let's just briefly talk about it. The y-intercept is the point where a line touches the y-axis. So everybody look at this graph. Can you see the y-intercept right here? How do I know that's the y-intercept? Because that's where it's touching the y-axis. Everybody see the y-axis right here? It's touching at -4. So don't use stat if it asks for the y-intercept and you can clearly see it. You're wasting your time. Just look for it. Okay, now you can use rise over run for slope. So everybody look, right here it says define slope. find 2 perfect points, and then count the rise over the run. Or you could just make a table and use STAAR. It's totally up to you. All right, and over here they're teaching you the slope formula, and I just told you use STAAR. Okay, so STAAR will work for both slope and y-intercept, but anytime you want to use STAAR, you need a table with at least 2 coordinates. Do y'all remember how to do that? Yes?
With the coordinates, doesn't it like change, like, you know, it'll show you the coordinates on the graph?
So look, let's do this one. I found I found the y-intercept was -4. If I did rise over run, it was 1, 2, 3, 4 over 2, and 4 over 2 simplifies to 2. So I found the slope was 2 and the y-intercept was -4. But let's say I wanted to just use STAAR. Okay, so if I wanted to use STAAR, I'd have to make a table. How many coordinates do I need? 2. There's 3 graphed here. Just pick 2. It does not matter. If you pick this one, what's my x value? 0. My y value is -4. If I pick this one, my x value is 3, and my y value is 2. I should get this answer if I did it right. So I go to Stat Edit, put in 0, 3, put in -4, 2, Stat Calc. Did I get the same exact answer? Yes. So it doesn't matter which way you do it. The biggest problem is if you use rise over run, you might have a problem if you count by the wrong, whatever they're counting by, and you might forget the negative if it's going down, which this was going up.
Like, for example, the question on the bottom, like it gives you the coordinates.
Yeah, we're about to go do it.
Like, when you put that in the stat, is it like -4, 1, or is it -4, -9? Like, where would
You need to make a table out of those. So let's go do it. All right, so this bottom question said, how would you explain finding slope of a graph to a struggling classmate? Well, you could tell them to use rise over run, or you could tell them to use, which one do you think is easier to mess up on? Rise over run to me is easier to mess up on. So that's why I teach y'all to use STAAR. Now, make a table out of these 2 coordinates. So come over here and make a table. So I would write down -4, 6, and 1, -9. The x's get put in L1, the y's get put in L2. And that's why I tell you to make a table, because these coordinates will confuse you. So let's go put it in. Stat Edit, and then put in -4, 1, and put in 6, -9. Everybody should be putting it in with me. Now where do I go? Stat, tab over to Calc, and option 4 is linear. That's the only one we use in here. And then just hit enter until it gives you the answer. So the slope is -3, so I'm going to call it M. The B is -6. Could I also write an equation? So if I want an equation in y equals mx plus b form, then I would put y equals -3x minus 6. Now look at the y-axis. Is it touching at -6? Yes or no? Is that the y-intercept? Yes, so we did good. And then if I wanted to do rise over run, look, I could go pick a point that's closer. My rise is 3, my run is 1. 3 over 1 simplifies to 3, and it's going down, so it's negative. So I got the exact same answer doing a rise over run and stat. Are y'all good? Now, real quick, just a quick review. If you go back to the front of your notes, in y equals mx plus b, remember that m is the slope, also known as the rate or rate of change. The b is the y-intercept, also known as the one-time fee or starting point or starting amount. So they could give you a graph and say, what is the rate? They could give you a graph and say, what is the one-time fee? And you have to know that that meant y-intercept, and rate means slope. Yes? Makes sense? All right, I'm going to give you your assignment. I'll check it one time, and then it comes back to me so I can get it graded. And then remember that you need to get yesterday's assignment turned into me as well.